This is Hockey Talk, episode 11, where we talk everything hockey. We are recording on May the 21st, 2024, and I am John.
And I'm Mike.
Okay, let's go. First thing we need to talk about, Mike, is how your last playoff guesses went. You were 3 for 4 in the series. That makes you 11 out of 12 in the playoffs this year. I mean, that's really, really good. I believe the only series you had wrong was the Dallas Stars and the Colorado Avalanche. And I want to know, Mike, did you have any doubts about these picks that you had? I know we talked last week about Dallas and Colorado. At the time Dallas was up, you stuck with Colorado. What do you think of all that?
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. Like with that series, I knew it was going to be a long series. I mean, it went 6 games. I was expecting, Colorado to win, but out of all the series, that's the one that I thought if it was going to go the other way, it would because of the depth that Dallas has, and also, with Nikushkin, who was leading their team in score or goals for the playoffs.
Yep.
No longer able to play. That I think really hurt the team. I mean, he was on their number one power play. So losing him definitely had an impact on the team. And as it turns out, Dallas's depth was one of the factors in them winning. All 3 lines were scoring. So, and they got the goaltending when they needed it. So that's the thing. And the team's also, strength is on defense as well. They're very solid. So I'm not surprised Dallas won. Unfortunate that I got the one wrong, though.
I mean, we have to look at this. So you got 11 out of 12 right so far in the playoffs.
Right,
I mean, that's pretty darn good. So, and the Colorado was behind, and you said here, hey, I'm going to stick with them because I just don't want to change right now, whatever.
Yeah.
And, you have to give some credit for that because a lot of people would have just turned coat and went.
Well, the reason I stuck with them is, going into game 6, they were going to be at home, figured that would help them out a little bit. I mean, it went to double overtime. So, I mean,
yeah, anything's possible.
Overtime, anything can happen, right? So,
yeah, that's right.
However, I thought if they could win the game 6, then, game 7, it's 50-50. Who comes out and starts the game off the fastest, basically.
Yeah, and Dallas, to their credit, I mean, they played 7 pretty tough games against Vegas the series before.
Right.
I mean, they handled Colorado fairly easily. I mean, within reason. I mean, they didn't whoop them or anything. And they just, like you said before, they're very, very deep. They have the goaltending, and, they just took care of Colorado. Colorado's goaltending did not look good enough, and their offense wasn't good enough either down the stretch. So,
right. I find the other thing that kind of helped Dallas a little bit was because they went 7 games against Vegas. I think they were game ready for game 1 a little bit more than Colorado was, and they won 5-1 or something in game 1. So
right, yes,
and getting off to that early lead in the series was a key thing. So coming into the series, not being all beaten up by Vegas or whatever, I guess they were still game ready, so it made a bit of a difference for them.
Absolutely. Okay, well, let's go on to our second topic. And I just want to say it's the Edmonton Oilers versus the Vancouver Canucks. We're going to talk about this a little bit. I watched the game last night, and this was Monday's game 7. The Canucks get a 4-minute power play and have 0 shots in that power play, Mike. The Oilers get a fabulous shorthanded scoring chance on that same power play. That was the only scoring chance during the whole 4 minutes. Mike, was that penalty kill the turning point of this game and maybe the entire series? What do you think?
Absolutely. I mean, it was critical for Vancouver to score on that power play. 4-minute power play. I mean,
you don't see them very often in the playoffs.
Exactly. You don't. So, to get the upper hand early in the game would have been a key thing for them. And not even getting a shot had to have been pretty demoralizing. And not only that, demoralizing for them, but giving the Oilers the confidence that, you know what, we just killed off a 4 minute power play, didn't give up a shot. We've got a good chance to win this game. And sure enough, they scored the first three goals. Vancouver scored a couple later in the game, but unfortunately, too little, too late. Um, and you know that's how it goes. I mean, you can't give the Oilers with McDavid and Draisaitl a 3-0 lead, and and not expect that to happen. I mean, even though, like I said, they got the couple goals late, but it was just too late.
Yep. Yep. They just gave up too many goals. So the Oilers' power play has cooled down somewhat. I believe it was 0 for 9 against the Canucks. Well, it was 0 for 9 against the Canucks in Game 5, Game 6. But it's still clipping around at 37.5% efficiency. It was really, really good. Dallas'
Mm.
power play is 29% and on the dot. And the power play is going to make a big difference, I think, in the series. Will special teams decide the winner of these two teams in the next series? What do you think?
Um, I think I don't know if it's going to be the special teams because I think they're both fairly evenly matched for strengths. Even though the numbers are a little bit in Edmonton's favor, I think that the Oilers playing against a couple of teams that were probably a little bit weaker in the first two rounds than what Dallas played kind of plays into that. So I don't think special teams is going to be the difference maker in this series. I believe it's going to be the even strength depth that the teams have.
Right, right. And I just want to say this part about the Edmonton Oilers penalty kill. Now, we are talking a little bit about this before we started recording. So their penalty kill is 91.4%. That's the best in the playoffs. Dallas is 69.2. I mean, there's a big difference there. I
Hmm.
just wanted to throw that out there because even though special teams does mean a lot, and I think I'm going to call this episode special about the special teams, Edmonton wasn't necessarily playing against teams whose power play was really that good. So,
Well,
I mean,
that's exactly it. I mean, LA's power play isn't one of the best ones. And as we saw, Vancouver struggled on the power play. It took them a little while to get their top guys to produce because they were fairly inconsistent. So, and then with Vancouver losing Brock Boeser, who was one of their more consistent scorers, losing him for Game 7 was a critical loss for them, and ultimately that it hurt them. I think if they had Besser in the lineup, who knows? They might have been able to win the game. They would have had him out there on the power play. Maybe they do get some shots on that 4 minute power play. So it's it was a tough loss for them for that to happen right before Game 7. One of their top scorers in the season. So it worked out to Edmonton's advantage, and they took advantage.
yes. And like I was saying, I was watching that game. I'm just going to say this here while we're recording. The announcers are making it sound like it was a really, really close game at the end. I know the score was 3-2, but I watched it. And there was like, I don't know, 4.5 minutes left roughly
Right.
after Vancouver scored. And Vancouver really didn't have a chance on net. They had one good shot and it was blocked. The Edmonton Oilers were blocking shots and charging at the puck, and they just would not
Yeah.
give the puck to the Vancouver Canucks. I mean, that's not the Edmonton Oilers team that I'm used to seeing. It almost looks like that they've bought in to the system and are playing more a better playoff hockey style than what I've seen them play in years past. So I think it's going to be a really interesting series now, Mike. So I'm going to ask you who's going to win between Dallas and Edmonton. But before I ask you that, I have to say this, okay? I want Edmonton to win badly. I This is in my heart. I want Edmonton to win. Yes, I'm a Leafs fan, but I love Canadian teams to win the Stanley Cup, and it hasn't happened since what 92 or something. I don't even know when the last time was it happened. 93.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
long, long time.
It's been a
So
while.
I want you to tell me that Edmonton is going to win this series, but I'm afraid you're going to tell me that Dallas is going to win this series. That's kind of why I put the Edmonton Oilers penalty kill, how awesome it is, and the bad Dallas penalty kill. Like, maybe Edmonton's going to score a boatload of power play goals on Dallas because their penalty kill sucks. But Mike, who's going to win this series, and why do you think it's going to be? Don't break my heart too strong, okay? Just be careful here. All right, I'm very delicate. So, what do you think?
Well, I'll delicately put it that I think Dallas is going to win this series.
Mike, you've ruined everything.
Well, and here's the reasons why. I think
Okay.
Dallas has top three line forward depth, and Edmonton has top two line forward depth. So, although the Oilers have, two of the best players in the game, I do think that the depth on the third line is going to make a difference. When it comes to defense, um, fairly evenly matched for the most part, I think. I'd give the slight edge to Dallas to have a little bit more offense because, I mean, when you look at the Oilers, I mean, they rely a lot on Bouchard, and he's
Yes.
not the strongest defensive player, so, but he does put up points. Whereas I think Dallas is a little bit better balance for defense. And then when it comes to goaltending, there's no question that Ottinger is the better goaltender.
I knew
Um,
you were going to go to Ottinger as a better
well,
goalie.
I mean, when the Oilers had to take Skinner out and put Pickard in, you know, uh, that's a question mark right there when you're taking your number one guy out. I mean, sure, might have been just a mental reset for him. However, I don't think Dallas has to worry in any way. They know what they're getting in a goalie, whereas the Oilers, sometimes you just don't know. So yeah, I think it's going to be Dallas. Unfortunately, I mean, I'd like to see a Canadian team win the cup as well. However, I think it's probably a six-game series. Only because I think the depth and the goaltending is probably going to make a big difference. I don't think it's going to go seven as much as I would like to see another 7 game series because they're always great to watch. But I think
Yes,
it's
that's
only
why I
going to
stayed up
go,
last night and watched that game. I had to watch
yeah.
it.
So I think this is probably only going to go six. And I wouldn't be totally shocked if it went five, but I'm going to give the Oilers offense the benefit of the doubt that they're going to win 2 games. So, um,
Well, Mike, you broke my heart.
that's,
We may have to stop being friends after tonight. Who knows? I mean, it's possible. But I knew you were going to say it. Well, I didn't know for sure, but I was fairly sure that's what you were going to tell me. I know that you look at the goaltending a lot, and I'm looking at the goaltending, and I'm just shaking my head, going, "Man, yes, Skinner got it done, but man, it was a rocky way to go." And he looked a little bit uneasy at the beginning of the game last night too. I thought he looked a little.
yeah.
Although I was
Well,
listening to some of the commentators and nobody said anything about it, but I thought he was standing up and looked a little awkward. But I mean, what do I know?
Well, I mean, halfway through the second period, the Oilers were out shooting Vancouver 23-5.
I know, I saw that.
So,
Yeah.
uh, I mean, you're not going to win a game with only getting 5 shots in 30 minutes. It's just not going to
No,
happen. So,
no,
I
they did
mean,
pick it up, but
they did. I think the desperation finally kicked in on them, and they did, but it was far too late. You just can't throw away the first half of the game like they did, basically. So,
yes, yeah. And I know that the Oilers lost a game that they were ahead in earlier,
right.
but that's not going to happen to Edmonton very often. It's not going to
No,
happen to playoff teams very often. Yeah, it happens the odd time, but it's not going to happen time after time. So,
right.
all right, Mike. Well, I have to go on to the third topic, and that is the New York Rangers. They won the President Trophy for the most points in the NHL this year. They do indeed face the Florida Panthers in the conference finals. The Rangers are getting veteran forward Blake Wheeler back, and he will possibly play the first game against Florida. Now, Mike, do you think the third, I believe he's 37, do you think that the 36 or 37-year-old Blake Wheeler will make any difference whatsoever in this series?
Um, Other than having that veteran presence in the room and the voice, I don't think you're going to see very much difference on the ice. Only because he did not have a great year. If I'm not mistaken, I think his plus minus was not good. So, I don't think that he's not going to make an impact on the score sheet. I don't believe, unless, miracles happen and he can help guide some of the younger guys that are on the on the bottom two lines. He's definitely not going to play top two lines. So um,
Right.
I don't think he's going to have a huge impact. So
Will he get any power play time at all? Is it possible, or is he just now not played long enough? He's just out of the sync. Maybe they
I
don't want to
highly
mess up the
doubt
sync.
I highly doubt he'll get any power play time at all. The team's already got their lines set. I think he's just going to be uh, coming into the lineup to play a third, fourth line role, and that's it. And to have the veteran presence in the dressing room and that sort of thing.
Okay, well, since we're talking about the power play, the Rangers' power play is running at a 31.4% clip in the playoffs. That's pretty darn good.
Yeah.
Panthers are 22%. The Rangers have won all 6 games in which they have scored a power play goal. That's also pretty good. The Panthers have scored 8 power play goals, the Rangers 11. I mean, that's not too much of a difference, really, but the Panthers scored 4 of their 8 goals in one game against the Bruins. How much is the power play and special teams going to matter in this series, Mike? Can the Panthers turn it up? The Rangers penalty kill is at 89.5% and Panthers is at 86.1. Is pretty much the same, really. What do you think?
Uh, like the Dallas Edmonton series, I think that the special teams are going to be fairly even in this. I mean, both teams have a great power play. I mean, the Rangers, their numbers might be a little bit inflated considering they played the Capitals in the first round.
Right,
Uh,
yes.
so whereas Florida had some tougher matchups so far in the playoffs, um, this series here is going to be it's going to be a battle. Florida likes to play physical. Um, if it translates into penalties, though, then you know what? Special teams could have an impact in the Rangers' favor. It all depends how the referees are going to call this. So we shall see.
Yeah, I and the Rangers don't play an aggressive style, do they? I mean, I'm not
Not
saying that
so
they're not
much.
aggressive, but
Right.
and I forget the the really tall end. I wish I could remember his name. Playing the fourth line for the Rangers there.
Matt Rempe.
Yeah, Rempe. He's quite the character, isn't he?
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, you know what? They might have him out there to do a little bit of police work. We'll see. He's gonna have to keep Cousins and Tkachuk and Bennett and these guys
You think he can
somewhat in
take them all
line.
on?
So, but yeah, I mean, the Rangers probably are not as physical a team as Florida. So it's all going to be, how the referees call it and how if they let the physical play go, how do the Rangers respond to it? Because I mean, the Capitals, other than Tom Wilson, I mean, they're not an overly physical team. So I mean, and that series was over fairly quickly. And Carolina as well, not an overly physical team because they're
No.
more skill. So I think that this is going to be a real test for the Rangers this series here.
Okay, well, I'm going to ask you the same thing I asked for the Edmonton Oilers and the Dallas Stars. Now, I want to see Bobrovsky go to the finals again. I like Bobrovsky a lot. I mean, they hype him up here on Sports Center and everything. So, I mean, so please tell me that at least you agree with me here that Florida is going to make it past the Rangers. What do you think, Mike? Are you going to
Well,
disappoint me twice in the same evening?
I like Bobrovsky too, but I'd like him a lot more if he still had a Flyers jersey on. However, another another trade for the ages by the Flyers. I'm going to agree with you on this one. I'm going to pick Florida, and the reasons why. As far as it comes to offense, I think the two teams are fairly balanced. Slight edge perhaps to Florida because I think their top two lines as a whole are a little bit stronger, whereas the Rangers are a little more lean a little more on their top line to do most of their scoring. Second line's still good, but I think Florida's top two lines are fairly equal. They're basically two first lines in my opinion.
Right.
So when it comes to defense, slight edge to Florida again, just because of the depth that they have. I think they've got some higher end guys than the Rangers do. I think the Rangers, Adam Fox is the best defenseman in between the two teams. But when you're looking at overall balance, I think Florida has the edge. They've got Montour, Ekblad, Forsling's played great. So, and then Ekman Larson's been all right. I mean, so I think that Florida's got the edge when it comes to defense. Where the Rangers do have the edge, I do believe, is in the net. I think Shesterkin is the better goaltender, just because I think he's probably a little more reliable and consistent. Because as we've seen in the past, Bobrovsky, once he has his moments there where he just doesn't seem to be in the game, but when he's on, he's on. But
Oh yes.
when it comes to overall, if I had to choose between the two goalies who I would want in nets for my team, I would pick Shesterkin. However, that being said, I want to see Bobrovsky win as well. So I am going to pick the Panthers to win. I think it is going to be a long series, so I'm going to say it's Panthers in 7. Um, if Shesterkin can steal the games, then the Rangers have a shot. But I think overall that the Florida overall depth will be a difference maker here as well.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's awesome. At least well, you didn't break my heart totally. Well, you really did with the Edmonton, but it mended up a little bit with that last pick. So, and I just wanted to say one more thing before we get to the end of the show, is that the Edmonton Oilers have done something that's never ever been done before. They have the top 3 scorers in the playoffs, and it's the first time that it's happened where the top 3 scorers are all on the same team and they have 20 points or more after 2 rounds. So that's something that those guys could really score some points. There's no doubt about it. But you're right; they're not as deep as Dallas.
Yeah,
So
and I think that that's going to be the turning point there. And when we just to get back to the Florida series just quickly is
yeah.
I mean, Aleksander Barkov, I believe, is so underrated. If he was playing in a bigger market, I mean, they'd be praising this guy like a god. He's if you watch him play, the patience and the foresight that he has, like when he has the puck, I mean, I'm a real big Aleksander Barkov fan. I think he's a really good player and very underrated. But I'm telling you, when you watch him play, it's like very very controlled player, and he's going to be one of the key things to Florida winning this series. I think so.
All right. Well, is there anything else you wanted to say tonight about the show, Mike, or anything else you wanted to get into?
Um, Well, one last thing is not playoff hockey related, but Philadelphia Flyer related. Sounds like Niles cheering. Um, is There's rumors that Matvey Michkov is going to be coming over next year.
Ah, yes.
So the Flyers can't comment on it right now because it has to go through a process or whatever because he's still under contract. But there's talk that the Russian team is going to let him out of his contract so he can come over, which is going to be huge for the Flyers. He's going to be, the next big thing, and he's got the hype, but I think he's actually got the goods to back up the hype. So
All
fingers
right.
crossed.
Well, Mike, I'm just going to tell our listeners that if they agree with anything or disagree with anything that we said, I mean, go to the comments and let us know because that's what the comments are for. Please do not like, share, or subscribe because why on earth would you? And we will see you next week. And see you later, folks. Goodbye for now.
Later.